my research was actually mainly about detecting those naturally occurring radioactive materials, in foods and vegetables, because we can also find radiation in the soil,
Okay.
So that is what radiation is all about,
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Discover Talent with Vico.net. Today I am with Veronica Gouws. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
How are you?
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm very well, thanks. We're going to have an interesting conversation. 2 master's degrees,
Yes.
nuclear physics and technology,
Yes.
and radiation science and technology.
Yes.
Explain more.
Okay.
Why that combination? Why 2 masters?
Okay, I actually started when I finished my first degree. So I really didn't really know what actually I wanted to do after my first degree. So, and then
And your first degree was in what?
my first degree was in biochemistry and microbiology.
Okay.
So I was a little bit confused because I didn't really know what to do, and I didn't want to go back home. So I met this other friend of mine.
Now they know.
Yes, I really did. Yes, I really didn't want to go back home and sit, and do nothing after my degree. So I decided to pursue, my studies. So I applied for honors in microbiology.
Okay.
And then I happened to meet one of my friends who happened to do an honors in applied radiation science and technology. So he actually introduced me to the field. So I didn't even know there's something called applied radiation in Northwest University Mahikeng campus.
Yes.
So that's where I started doing my honors there for 1 year. And then I applied for jobs, but nothing was, happening. Nothing was not coming up. So I decided to do a master's on the same field, applied radiation science and technology. So quickly to move to another master's. So I happened to notice that this master's, I'm gonna actually have an extra year. So an extra year, it means extra money,
Okay.
So I have to pay, for extra year. So I didn't have money actually to do that. So I actually did my research in Pretoria during my master's, my first master's degree with NEXA. So, and then I decided to apply, for the scholarship to study abroad.
Oh.
So I'm like, let me go study and do another master's while I'm finishing the other one.
Yes.
Yeah, so to balance it in a way. So I went to Russia and then,
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
And your research, what was it on?
For both master's degrees?
The first master's.
The first master's degree, I was focusing on assessing the norms, which is naturally occurring radioactive materials in fruits and vegetables that were collected from local markets here in South Africa.
Okay.
So I was mainly focusing on determining the activity concentration of the fruits and vegetables that we consume, collected from different markets using different techniques in the lab.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's interesting. So your studies, and this would have been radiation science, right?
Yes.
In terms of that research. What I'm hearing from you is that although from a naming convention side, it may sound like, look, this is very technical. You're going to work in these nuclear plants or technical plants and so forth. But I'm hearing that, hang on a second, you can also apply this in other fields, agriculture,
Yes.
as a case in point.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And then you trigger Russia.
I triggered Russia.
Did you have to learn Russian before you left, or it was not the case?
No, can I start at the beginning how I actually went to study in Russia? So in 2018, I entered a video competition, Rosatom video competition. It was organized by Rosatom Central and Southern Africa.
Okay.
So the competition, it was mainly about how do you explain the benefits of nuclear or peaceful atoms in your fellow Africans.
Yeah.
So me and my other fellow friends, we won the free trip to Russia.
Yeah.
So during the schedule, the time when we were in Russia, we got an opportunity to actually visit other universities, where students are in the same stream of nuclear science and technology. So we went to Tomsk, and then the department of the nuclear school, that side, they came and then they presented their curriculum, like what do they offer in the field of nuclear science and technology. And then they also organized other African students, to tell us about the experience, they had during that time.
Yes.
So, and then I just came into my mind like, okay, this is so interesting. I can actually try my luck and come here looking at how they conduct their research, So I took numbers from one of the guys, like the ones who were there during the presentation. And then I came back home and then I called the guy to help me with like everything, the process and then all that. So I didn't even know that I actually can apply through the Department of Higher Education and Training. So I had another friend from South Africa who was already studying that side, and then he gave me the application form. Then I applied and then I was asked for interview and everything,
Fell into peace.
Exactly. So I went to Russia to study
So
there.
yours started with a competition that you applied for?
It started with a competition, and that's when I knew exactly where I want to go in Russia. Even during the process of application, I chose that university because I knew the university was offering the course like in an English, not in Russian.
Yes.
So that is why for me, I didn't do a Russian language for 1 year. So I started with the course immediately in English.
No, beautiful. But can you speak some Russian?
I can't. I'm not that good. No, I can only greet and ask you, how are you and what's your name? You know?
So I'm
Just
interested.
basic.
So say, how are you?
Kadila.
Kadila.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's how are you?
How are you?
And then when you say I'm good, you say harasho. Auvas. Auvas means and you? Yes.
That will do on another day.
Yes.
But how was the Russian experience overall? Because you were, as you say, you were in Tomsk, which is like a university city or town, isn't it? You've got a few universities there.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
And how was the experience there? How would you describe it?
Very fascinating, if I can put it like that. I really enjoyed myself, because for me personally, I was not only focusing on academics, I was more of social. I was just living my life there. I was exploring. I just wanted to know more about the beauty, of the city of Russia, the culture, the tradition, its diversity as well. So that's the experience that I could, pinpoint during the time when I was studying that side.
Yes. I would want to explore that a bit later. If you had to give tips to somebody who wants to explore this route, what are 2 or 3 things they need to keep mindful of that perhaps helped you through this experience and journey so far?
I will say that applying for a scholarship is very easy and it's the most simplest thing to do. The only thing that you need, internet, you only need supporting documents, and you are good to go. So one thing that I will encourage someone is use this opportunity, because when you go abroad and receive a scholarship, it's free, fully paid. You don't have to even worry about anything, so that's all,
And in our previous conversations with other guests, I think that were exposed to international studies and so forth, what also came up is a lot of discipline, right? Self-discipline. Would you agree with that?
Definitely, because when you are in a foreign country, you are different. and you speak different language. And then discipline, it's one of the key, to get to know people, like to get to know the surroundings, to be comfortable with the surroundings as well. So if you have that discipline, it's very easy, to approach people out there. Maybe if you seek help, in anything that you want to do, anything that you want to achieve, anything that you actually want to have in a way. So I will say you have to also discipline yourself when it comes to that.
Yeah.
You cannot just use maybe the behavior that you have from where you are coming from to another country, because it doesn't gonna help you. It's not gonna help you to actually reach where you want to go, Yeah, discipline is the most important thing.
Yeah. So that we don't lose that,
Exactly.
the focus, the courage to complete
Yeah,
what you started and the resilience. But let's not lose what you said as well, which is experience the place, have fun, socialize, and balance it all.
Exactly, yes.
And then you are armed with 2 masters. You come back. And I think you're a scientist.
I am, yes.
A dosimetry.
Dosimetry scientist, yes.
Now educate us. What are you researching? Firstly, what is that dosimetry scientist?
Okay, dosimetry, let me just define dosimetry in a simple definition. It's more of a combination of like calculations and measurements.
Yeah.
So it's a phenomenon where like we measure the absorbed dose of a particular, maybe a media or in human beings being exposed to a high level or any level of ionizing radiation. So for dosimetry,
is that the simple version?
It's a simple version of dosimetry, like in general, but where I work, let me just explain it what it is where I work. So I work in a dosimetry lab and under radiation protection. I specialize with radiation protection. So when you define dosimetry in terms of calibrating an instrument, is when you take an instrument and then you expose it to a radioactive source, and then you want to check the behavior of that instrument, how does it behave when it's exposed to radiation. So mostly my job, like we calibrate instruments for people who are exposed to radiation, like in mining. It can be in the nuclear power plant, people from NEXA as well, for example, hospitals, even universities. So yeah, that's what dosimetry is.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's very interesting. And a day in the life of a dosimetry scientist, maybe take us through that. What does that look like?
Okay, in a daily life, I will just tell you what we mainly do, like in a daily basis. So mostly when it comes to my duties, we improve and the new measurement capabilities, when we have some measurements happening in the lab. So what we do also, we review procedures in the lab, and then we also generate quotations for, let's say, if our clients, they need our services, we generate codes for them. This is our code, this is what you're gonna do in the lab for you. This is what you should expect. Like, we're gonna do for you in the lab. And we also do maintain our training files, that actually shows how competent you are as a dosimetry scientist working in a lab.
Yeah. And these are careers we don't necessarily hear about them every day, right? They may not sound sexy, but they're absolutely critical. Because what I've heard from you is that obviously there are industries that are a lot more exposed to radiation than others. Mining, it makes sense. Your power plants, nuclear plants, it makes sense. But it doesn't mean that others are not exposed to that, right?
Yes.
So it's about standard operating procedures that you guys look into. It's about the testing thereof, the exposure. It's preventative as well, right?
Yes.
And I presume linked closely with health and safety is to make sure that it doesn't happen. And then
Exactly.
And then when it happens, what do you do in that regard? So I take it that you probably suit up quite often in terms of, what you do.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So what we see now at work, those are two different things.
Two different things.
Yeah.
Because because for us, we also use radioactive sources.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we calibrate instrument using those sources.
Yeah.
So we always have to start protecting ourselves first.
Yeah.
So we have what you call a dosimeter. So when we go in the lab, we wear a dosimeter.
Yeah.
So a dosimeter, it actually detects the radiation level that you exposed in a lab, for example. So it doesn't start, we only don't really focuses on the facilities out there or the people who are working in the radiation facilities, but it has to start with us as well to protect us as well. So yeah.
Yeah. In general, are we exposed to a lot of radiation, or incidents are few and far in between?
Let me tell you something about radiation. Radiation is everywhere. Even now, we might be exposed to radiation in this building, for example. We can get radiation naturally from water, the water that we drink, for the food that we eat. Even inside our body, we also have radiation. So radiation has been there since the birth of the earth. So for example, we have what you call uranium-238. Uranium-238, the half-life is like 4.5 billion years,
Yeah.
So it is still decaying even today. So my research was actually mainly about detecting those naturally occurring radioactive materials, in foods and vegetables, because we can also find radiation in the soil,
Okay.
So that is what radiation is all about,
Yeah.
So sometimes we also have the man-made, like the produced, like radionuclides as well.
Yeah.
So it doesn't only have to be naturally. We also have the artificial ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the level of incidence that perhaps in your scale of risk that point towards, let's call it medium to high risk, is that a lot? Are we exposed to a lot of that? Or notwithstanding that radiation is everywhere, it's manageable, right? It's a lot of it is natural, is what we can on a day-to-day basis live with. But the one that perhaps is through human error, intervention, behavior, and so forth, are there a lot of incidents in that regard?
No, like mostly of the incidents, like maybe we came across, it's like maybe in 2011, if I'm not mistaken, we have like what you call Fukushima. It was one of the accidents that actually happened. And we also have Chernobyl, some nuclear power plant accident that actually happened in the history.
Yeah.
So I would say those ones are the biggest exposure of radiation.
Yeah.
But for us, like naturally, we are not that exposed to high amount of radiation. For example, the radiation from the sun, we always have been exposed to the sun, but it doesn't have like the energy. It doesn't have that strong energy to a point where it will damage your skin in a way, or being exposed to high amount of the radiation from the sun.
Okay.
So no, we are safe.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good to know.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Out of interest, I think it's about 2 billion years ago where we had that meteorite in our parts of the world, what they call the Fridaford Dome. Has that influenced our radiation levels? Because how South Africa looks like today, or if you like, Sub-Saharan Africa and so forth, possibly stems from there as well?
Yeah, I will say that mostly like in Africa, like as a whole, like we are not mostly in danger in a way, except when maybe there's some errors like happening in our research reactors. So most of radiation, it's something that is like, for example, in Fukushima, like the data they have, maybe during the time when the incident happened, is actually something that we can also use in the future. So we have to always check like the level of radiation there, whether it is still stable, whether it is still affecting the environment or the surroundings or the people who are living there. So radiation, when it happens, like when the accident happens, it doesn't stop there. So there has to be a lot of, findings out there. Other measurements has to be taken.
Yes.
So that information or that data baseline, so that we can use it in the future for more, researchers out there. Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you were in high school, did you visualize this?
No.
Who did you want to become when you were still in high school?
The time when I was in high school, let me start from the beginning. I used to be this excellent student, like learner, actually.
Yeah.
I used to be the best, the best in class, the best overall.
Yeah.
So I would take all the certificates,
Yes.
I was so good.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
And at the time when I was in grade 9, I remember it was my last grade where I have to choose a stream that I want to, continue doing. So, and then I chose maths and physics. And then I did maths and physics in grade 10. And then I remember that time I still didn't know what I wanted to do because, I was young and, we didn't even have the opportunities like now at high schools. Students or learners have opportunities to be taught about careers and everything. For that time, we didn't have, opportunities to be taught about what exactly you want to do.
Yeah.
So the time when I finished my matric, I couldn't even go to the school immediately. I didn't go to the university immediately, you know, due to some financial problems. So honestly speaking, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I knew that I wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah.
The time when I was in my gap year, I'm like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a medical doctor. So yeah. But I didn't know anything about nuclear. So I was so confused, I remember,
No, we're happy you've discovered it.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll tell you what, I mean, from just the little time we've spent with you, the future looks bright for you. Keep that spirit.
Yes.
I mean, it's quite obvious that you were, doing a clean sweep at high school.
Yes, I was.
And we're happy that you chose maths and science.
Definitely, yes.
That's why not? It's really proving and supporting your career very well.
Of course, yes.
No, excellent. And your gap year was in Wolmaranstad?
It was in Wolmaranstad, but that time I was not only sitting. I did something, and there's a school.
You want to let us in what you were doing?
Yes, there's an institution they call Cellulose Computer Institute.
Okay.
So, and then I got an opportunity to do their computer literacy for 6 months for free.
Yeah.
Because I was supposed to pay, but then they had an opportunity for those who couldn't afford to pay there to apply, you know. And then I applied, and then I went for an interview. And then I was so fortunate, like they selected me amongst other 4 guys. I was the only girl that time. I was so proud of myself. So I did that for 6 months, and then I have to work for them for about 6 months again in a way that I was paying the course.
Yes.
So at least for that particular year, I was not only sitting at home, at least I was doing something just before I went to the university.
Yeah. I was hoping that during your gap year, you would tell me that you were doing some maize farming. But you decided
I was
computer
more.
science.
Yes, I decided to do a basic computer literacy. Yes.
Yeah.
For 6 months. Yes.
And that is so important what you're saying, because I think at different levels, whether you finish school and you have this gap year before university or higher learning, or whether you've finished university and there's this gap before employment, right?
Yes.
At some point, there might be a gap. I think the important thing, what you're saying is, firstly, explore. You can do something.
Yes.
Don't be despondent.
Yes.
Offer your free services.
Exactly.
Continue learning, and learning is wide, right?
It's definitely wide. Yes.
And you don't lose anything anyway from what you've recently learned.
Yes.
And keep moving forward. That's important, because in our context, where a lot of people can feel very despondent very quickly, the key message is always persevere, don't give up, keep moving forward.
Definitely. Yeah, that's what actually motivated me, that you can do something, Like, it doesn't have to be, I want to be a doctor, but now you are not in the university. So I had to do it. I had to do that course for the whole year,
Yeah.
So just before I went for my first day at the university. Yeah.
Okay. No. Good choice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yes.
And beyond your job, there's what we normally call a side hustles, right?
Of course, yes.
What is your side hustle? What are you busy with?
Okay. I will not actually call it a side hustle in a way. So me and my other two mates, we entered a IAEA video competition last year.
Yeah. So you're still doing video competitions?
Yes, it was a video competition. So it was mainly about the benefits of nuclear science and technology. So we went to Austria, and then we had an opportunity to attend the 67th General Conference at the VIC, which is Vienna International Conference.
Okay.
In Austria. And then we came back home, and then we also applied for another competition under Africa for Nuclear, a video competition. It was organized by IYNC. So, and then we were shortlisted amongst 5 different African countries.
Yes.
So I represented our group. So we went to Kenya in Nairobi.
Okay.
So mainly the competition was about trajecting nuclear science and technology for solving challenges in Africa. So we went there, and then we won,
Oh, congratulations.
So, thank you so much. So now our project, which is Nuclear Plays at Anything, we are going to represent the whole Africa in the International Young Nuclear conferences that will be held in Dubai this year, September, from the 29th to the 4th of October. So yeah, that's all.
A huge congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I mean, there is clearly a passion and a drive, right? Behind all these competitions. But I think the key thing there is your pursuance of research. What is behind that? What is it that is behind this energy? Excuse the pun. Behind just this research and energy. What are you searching for? What are you looking for? What is really driving that?
So to do this competition is not only about going there and traveling. So it's about also teaching our people here in our communities, because if you can go to high schools, if you go to other communities or society in our society, like people, they don't know what nuclear is. So doing these videos, we do them because we want to preach the word nuclear. We want to educate people what nuclear is, the benefits of nuclear, the applications of nuclear. We just want to enlighten people out there that, nuclear saves a lot more than before. Like, for example, like in the treatment of cancer. So we only want we only actually doing this to educate people how we can peacefully use nuclear science and technology.
Yes. Okay. So this is to progress nuclear, this is to educate about nuclear.
Exactly, yes.
And this is to, and the education is very wide, right? It's safe to use.
Yes.
It's not just, you know, what we think of as a, you know, like a bomb of some sort.
No.
It's actually to assist the medical field, you know, with certain treatments and so forth, and many more, right?
Yes.
That we've spoken about.
Yes, of course, yes.
So you've told us you were doing clean sweep academics. When other kids were entering beauty contests, you were entering atomic video contests.
Exactly.
Let's explore the fun side, right? So earlier you said that when you were in Russia, you were you know, exploring the fun side of things as well. So what was fun to do there? Tell us about the dating scene there in Russia.
Oh, okay. For me, I was all over the place. Like in Russia, I remember the first time when I arrived, and then 2 other guys from Ghana, they went to fetch me in the airport, you know. And then they told me, you know, Veronica, there's a party today. So that time...
So you've just arrived and you're going to a party.
I just arrived, and I remember the time I went there, I actually missed my flight. And then I had to sleep in Moscow for 1 day to wait for another flight the next day. Immediately when I arrived, I went to the party. I enjoyed myself. So I would say that each and everything, any activities that was happening, because we had this group, they call it African group students, where we sometimes meet, we have fun, we go out, we play bowling, we go dance, we go for sauna, we drink alcohol, you know, we get to know each other. So I was just all over. So yeah, yes.
So how's the Russian vodka?
For me, I only tasted once. Honestly speaking, I did drink the vodka, but only once. And then I was not well after that. I'm like, no, this is really not for me.
This is not for you.
No, it's not. I really did taste the vodka there,
No, I hear you.
Yes.
What's intriguing for me is that obviously we come from warmer parts, right? But in Tomsk, I think winter there could be anything, minus 20, 30 degrees?
Yeah, the highest, I think it's around minus 40, 41, 42, somewhere there.
Yeah.
But the one that I experienced is minus 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cold. And for me, I hate winter so much. So, but the good thing about the university, the system in our university, it's that when it's that cold, we don't go to school. So we stay at home. So yeah, until the temperature, go down a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So in a way, at times you were like just hoping.
Yeah.
That can it be cold today?
Yes, every day. I was yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Veronica Gouws, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
I think you've just proven that you can actually be a scientist and actually go clubbing as well.
Yes.
But it was good having you.
Yes, of course. Yes, thank you for having me.
No, thank you. Congratulations once again.
Thank you so much.
And all the best to the team that you're working with as well.
Oh, thank you so much.
We will be rooting for you guys.
Definitely, and we are bringing the cup back home. Yes.
Please bring it back home.
Definitely.
We'll be at the airport.
Yes. Thank you so much.